Hi, and thank you all for joining us today. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. And again, just to reiterate, welcome to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. Today we're broadcasting, not live. We have two shows a week. One is on a Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That one is live. And then we have a pre-recorded show that airs on Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's for folks that either can't make the live, maybe they live in different time zones, and we just like to accommodate everyone. So be sure to tune in. Make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube or wherever you see us on social media, and we would greatly appreciate it. So welcome, monster hunters and armchair adventurers. That's me. I love cryptids, but I'm not going to go out there hunting them. We all know famous cryptids like Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, the Jersey Devil. There's so many of them. But what if I told you that every state in America has its own collection of strange, terrifying, and sometimes downright bizarre creatures? Today, we're joined by author Jason Offutt, whose book, Chasing American Monsters, is a comprehensive, and I mean comprehensive, guide to the cryptids hiding in our own backyards. So get ready to rethink the sounds that you might be hearing in the woods or in your backyard, because this is going to blow your mind. This book, Chasing American Monsters, is an epic field guide to the weirdest and most wonderful cryptids from coast to coast. So make sure you tune in as we uncover the secrets of this legendary creatures and find out just what Jason believes is hiding in the shadows. So I am going to welcome Jason. So wonderful to have you here today.
Carol Ann, thank you very much for the invitation. It's my pleasure. And something that you said mirrors an answer to a question that I have on a lot of different interviews. And it's about me experiencing. What have I experienced? And I always answer, the paranormal's fun as long as it's happening to someone else.
Exactly. That's what I say. Right. I agree wholeheartedly. And I have to say, I love your sense of humor. Not a lot of things make me laugh. I'm like a tough one, but you have a really good sense of humor. I appreciate that.
I appreciate that from you. I really can't. I really can't help. I really can't help it. And I also write fiction. I've written a few horror novels, and that's some of the comments I get from people. I didn't know a horror novel could be funny. Okay, good.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I mean, even in your bio, you cracked a few jokes, and I always appreciate that, especially with this type of topic, because there's a lot of claims that are substantiated and unsubstantiated. And after I read your book, like as I was reading it, I was just mind blown at the amount of cryptids and creatures and fairies and goblins and just all sorts of things that we didn't even know about. We hear about the big ones, Mothman and Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster, but there's so much more to that. And that's why I loved your book, because you gave a nice summary of like where they're found, what, their folklore is. And so great book. And we'll have links to where folks can purchase it, which I highly recommend. And I like the pictures in it too. So that gives you a good visual component, so you can kind of imagine what they look like. And of course, we have your website running across the screen. Oops, there's a little boo-boo there. I have your name in there 2 times. I need to fix that. But yeah, so why don't you get started? And while I'm fixing this, and well, folks, let me just get this up and running again. There we go. Tell folks who you are and what your background is, and a little bit about your. I know you're a teacher as well. Mm-hmm. So tell folks, I'm going to step aside for a minute and let you take the stage and kind of explain who you are and why we're here today.
Okay. Well, yeah, Jason Offutt. I grew up on a farm, and in eastern or western Missouri. I had always had aspirations of not living on the farm. So I went to college and got a mass media degree. I was a newspaper editor, reporter, and photographer for 17 years. And I've been teaching journalism for the past 20 years still in Missouri. My love of monsters goes way back. As a kid, we had an independent TV station out of Kansas City, Missouri, that on Saturday afternoons they had monster movies all day. So after I got finished watching This Week in Baseball, I'd turn it to that channel and watch all sorts of big gorilla movies, Godzilla movies, and anything I could find. And when I was really young, something sort of came to life for me. In Missouri, there's over in Louisiana, Missouri, which is in the eastern part of the state. There were Bigfoot sightings within 2 weeks in 72 or 73. I remember I was about 7 years old, and I would read stories in the newspaper about these Bigfoot encounters in my home state. And at that minute, at that time, I'm like, wait a second, the newspaper's reporting this. There's got to be something to it. It's got to be real, right? And that's the first time I thought, maybe monsters actually are real. And I've read about them, watched all sorts of documentaries throughout the decades about whatever monsters popped up, and I'm still interested.
Yeah, that's great. Obviously, you have a compilation of these books now, and you have another one coming out soon. So, the investigation that you need to do, because I had no clue that there were so many different varieties, as I said earlier, and just discovering them, they stem from somewhere, like they come from somewhere in a culture. And it's very interesting because whether they're tulpas, invented by us, or maybe people are seeing them, like with Bigfoot, it's a serious topic that a lot of people are into. Like I remember as a kid watching Godzilla and Mothra movies, and these creatures, they are born out of something pretty real, I think. So after, doing all this investigation, I want to ask you out of the gate, what's the most memorable cryptid that you stumbled upon? Like one that maybe we haven't heard of that really impressed you?
Oh, I mean, I can think of a couple that are fairly ridiculous that came up, but one that came up that impressed me, I think, and everybody's heard of it though. It's the Thunderbird, but I'm going to package that Thunderbird with some other ones. People across the North America have reported seeing hyenas, lions, maned lions in Alabama and in other states. Huge wolves. All of these, along with the Thunderbird, which very well could have been a Teratorn. There was a bird, sort of like a condor, but it was the size of a small airplane. These things actually, and giant ground sloths, I'm going to throw that in there too. They lived here at one point back during the Pleistocene era. And now they're extinct. Let me throw some air quotes up. They're extinct, but we still see them. What are we seeing? People will talk about the rock tape theory, that we're just seeing something played back, and maybe they're spirits. We see Revolutionary or Revolutionary War or Civil War ghosts. Why aren't we? Maybe these are ghosts from 10,000 years ago, or I go to something a little bit more concrete first. What if they're still here?
Yeah.
Let's look at North America. there is more than 40, closer to 50% of North America that is uninhabited. People will go there, but we're just visitors. And there are some places that people never go.
Yeah.
I mean, we have so much, so much wild areas. Why couldn't something have survived then and still be out there today? I think we might, find one of these creatures one of these days because they might still be alive.
Yeah, I mean, look at Bigfoot alone. There's, we have a lot of documented evidence that these creatures are among us. We have footprints and, variety of different things to show that. And it's just remarkable how, like yesterday, I was talking to the author of a Mothman book, and there are so many sightings of Mothman, yet there's no evidence. Do you think a lot of these creatures come in and out through flaps, like through portals, dimensional, openings?
I don't want to go there. Because it's and we can talk about this. It's like the interdimensional Bigfoot theory, or craft, alien craft not being extraterrestrial, but maybe they come from a different dimension or somewhere else. I'm open to that, but I would like to have the physical Bigfoot proven false before I'll go there. I would like the nuts and bolts craft being proven false before I'll go with the maybe they come from someplace else. Okay, so I'm not opposed and to a window area, as John Keel, the great author John Keel.
Oh, yeah.
But that's where he went. He wanted to prove things as well, but he finally went that, there are places on the planet where the veil is thin. They're like a window, and sometimes the window's open and something can walk through, and sometimes the window's closed and it can't. So I'm open to lots of things. So maybe.
Yeah, it is a maybe. And I kind of say it's more of a maybe with creatures that aren't leaving us any telltale signs of their existence here on Earth. Like with Bigfoot, we've seen huts that they've built and broken trees and things, so on. But like with an entity like Mothman and so many others, we don't know like where they live or, how they got here. How did they procreate? Do they procreate? Like, there's just so many unanswered questions.
Well, with Bigfoot, physical evidence, with footprints, with, what you said, the structures, blood, hair, whatever, there's enough evidence. Somebody could get arrested for a crime with that type of evidence that we've got that Bigfoot exists. Absolutely, they could.
That's such a good point.
Yeah. So with Bigfoot, I'm convinced there's something out there. There's a Bigfoot type creature. There's a Bigfoot creature out there. What it is, who knows? There are a lot of different things that it could be. It could be a North American ape. It could be an extant hominid. It could be a human that which I'm kind of starting to lean toward, because a lot of Bigfoot, from scat to blood to hair, keeps coming out. It's human, but with some anomalies.
Yeah.
Who's saying it's not human? Indigenous peoples from all over the world have said that Bigfoot type creatures are just another tribe of humans. They're bigger and hairier than the rest of us, but they consider them human, even if they're giants. So I'm leaning a lot towards Bigfoot maybe being part of the human family tree, and we just haven't figured out which one yet.
Could very well be. Yeah. So your book covers, as I said, like a massive number of cryptids, over 250. What was your research process like? Like, how did you sift through the folklore and the news reports and eyewitness accounts and choose? And like you mentioned, you're working on another book with even more. So like, what's your research like?
like to look into media reports a lot, because that means somebody saw something and they were interviewed. So they'll have eyewitness accounts. I also like looking into historical records because, when it comes to a lot of lake monsters and Bigfoot, and I mentioned the Thunderbird earlier, a lot of different types of creatures. They've got a lot of years behind them. In the North America, First Nations and Native Americans have talked about a lot of these creatures. Cadbrosaurus off the northern Pacific coast for centuries upon centuries. They've had this. Is it a legend, or were they making pictographs of something that they've seen? So I will look into historical papers, but also there are quite a few academics out there who are interested in this topic and study and write about it. So I've gone to a lot of academic papers as well. Yeah, and when it comes to the folklore, if anything's way too silly, sometimes I don't bother with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just amazing because they're pervasive. These sightings, they're in the oceans, in the lakes, in the rivers, on land, in the sky. I mean, in people's homes, they're in the backyards, they're everywhere. And it just blows my mind up. I mean, I know a lot of it has to be mistaken. Like they see a huge bird, it may be a crane, and they think it's Mothman or something. So what percentage of that did you run into in investigation?
Oh, wow. I cannot throw a percentage on that. But if something seemed to me like it would probably be a misidentification, I didn't include it. Yeah. But there are a lot of probable misidentifications. People don't realize how big a crane is.
Oh,
there are a lot of birds out there that are enormous. And how easy is it to misjudge distance for a normal person?
Sure.
So something, is going to be probably closer. An animal that's bigger than they think is closer than they think, and they misjudge the distance, and they think it's even bigger. I don't, although I don't like a lot of the people explaining Bigfoot sightings away as being a bear.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these encounters, they're walking or running, and a bear's gait on two legs, is wildly different than what a Sasquatch is supposedly going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, we're not trained. The normal person is not trained in animals. So there are going to be a lot of misidentifications out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So Chasing American Monsters is organized obviously by state. And what was the thinking behind like that structure? Did you find any common themes or types of cryptids that appeared like repeatedly in different states, such as like maybe a particular type of lake monster or hairy hominid?
Yes, absolutely on that. How I like reading about monsters. I like reading about ghosts. I like reading about, all sorts of different types of paranormal, paranormal things. But a lot of these books are set in ghosts of the South, paranormal events in the Bridgewater Triangle, Bigfoot of the Pacific Northwest. I'm like, that's good for people in the Pacific Northwest, or ghosts of Ghost of New Orleans. That's good for people in New Orleans. But what about people in Cincinnati? They might be interested. But what I wanted to do is write a book about monsters that everybody could, own. So if you're from Rhode Island, you've got monsters in there. You can own this monster book.
Right.
It's yours. Okay. It is yours too. So everybody will have something from their home state. That's why I went looking. The other question was, did I find anything similar? Bigfoot is reported in 49 of 50 states.
Wow.
Hawaii is the only one that that doesn't have Bigfoot encounters.
Yeah.
Big guy doesn't like vacations, apparently. But so we've got Bigfoot. And the weird thing about Bigfoot is, okay, in the Pacific Northwest, they're more, like the Harry and the Hendersons type creature, more ape-like. There are other parts getting closer, a little bit more east, but still in that area, they're more human-like. In New Hampshire, we have something called the wood devil, which is a tall, skinny, gray Bigfoot that's really shy. The Michalak skunk ape down in Florida doesn't look anything like the other ones, other than it's big and hairy and stinks. It looks more like an orangutan than anything else. So, are they even the same species, or do they just look alike? One of the things that I wrote about it in a book that I've got coming out next in the 2026, the first volume of Chasing the World's Monsters. It's about the giant ground sloth, because those things grew up between 10 and 20 feet tall when they stood on their hind feet. They would stand on their hind feet to feed out of trees. They were also in Canada. They were also known to destroy beaver dens and eat the beavers. They were hairy, with the same hair color variations that Bigfoot tends to have, and they had 3 toes. There are reports throughout Canada still of creatures like that. There's reports from South and Central America about creatures that fit that bill. There's one specifically in Belize. They call it a cave cow, but it is the same what I described. There was a species of giant ground sloth in South America, in Central America, back in the Pleistocene. North America had the Jeffersonian ground sloth, named so because Thomas Jefferson's the one who discovered and named it.
Wow.
How this is all fitting together is, during my research for Chasing American Monsters, I noticed that the Honey Island swamp monster in Louisiana was reported to have left three-toed footprints.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go north of state to Arkansas. We've got the Folk monster, which was immortalized in the legend of Boggy Creek. It left three-toed footprints. Take another state up, Missouri. We had in the early 70s, the one I was talking about that got me started, Momo, the Missouri monster, left three-toed footprints. I looked up through Iowa and Minnesota. There were also reports up there of Bigfoot leaving three-toed footprints. Okay, a lot of Bigfoot researchers have felt that Bigfoot's migratory.
Yeah.
And so, okay, I'm wondering if these Bigfoot reports from Louisiana all the way up to Canada, let's go on the Mississippi River as far as it goes. And it touches all the states I just mentioned. Okay, what if it is a giant ground sloth?
Oh.
Because that would explain the height, the hair.
Exactly.
Sloths are nasty creatures and smell
Yes,
bad.
they are. Yeah.
And migrating with the rivers. There's a lot of things around the rivers that we don't ever see unless we're on a boat. So I'm kind of curious about that.
Would you consider them cryptids though? This type of sloth? Yeah, right?
Yes. Because they supposedly died out during the Ice Age, or at the end of the Ice Age.
Oh.
So I consider anything that's extinct that we find is not extinct to be a cryptid. The most famous one is the coelacanth, which is a really large lobed fish that science knew about because they were fossils. But the fossil record ended about 65 million years ago when all the dinosaurs died. And then in 1938, I think it is, a fisherman off the coast of South Africa caught a fish. He had no idea what it was, so he contacted a museum director in South Africa, and she was like, "Oh my God, that's a coelacanth. That thing's not supposed to live." So I think that is a rediscovery of that magnitude. I would think is, I would call it a cryptid.
So let's define for our listeners exactly what the difference is between a cryptid and just creatures that we know and see every day.
Well, a cryptid is a creature that is unknown to science. I'm not sure. It's the base word for cryptozoology, zoology, the study of animals. Cryptid is from a Greek word that means hidden. Crypto, yeah, I think it's crypto. So it's the study of hidden monsters. They're creatures that science doesn't know about yet. And people might be thinking, wait a second, we know of a lot of animals here. Science estimates that there are tens of millions of, up to I think it was 65 million or maybe more animals that we haven't even discovered yet.
Wow.
Every single year, there's an average of 18,000 animals science names. Now, admittedly, a lot of them are like little crustaceans or bugs, some fish. But occasionally we get something big. There was a new species of orangutan that was discovered about 10 or 15 years ago. The megamouth shark, which is 18 feet long, wasn't discovered until 1977.
Wow.
So there are big animals out there that we do discover still.
So then once they get discovered, they go from cryptids to classified and documented creatures, right?
As soon as somebody hits Bigfoot with their truck and takes it in, and science gets a look at it, it's not a cryptid anymore.
Wow, that's fascinating. Fascinating. There was one in your book that cracked me up. I think it was called a duppy.
The duppy is a goblin. It's actually it's found all over the islands in the Caribbean. It originated in Africa. A lot of Caribbean and Central American mythos came over from during the slave trade, and the duppy is one of them. If I remember correctly, doesn't the duppy wear a large hat?
Your picture, let me look at it real quick, is well, maybe I could share it. That would be awesome if I could show folks. Let me just do a share screen.
It's right. It's that
guy right there.
Right. The duppy. Yes, this is from Chasing North American Monsters, which comes out in September.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. The duppy's known throughout all throughout the Caribbean. There are a couple of different types of duppies. One is a spirit that is born from two Jamaicans and is able to possess somebody else. Mm-hmm. They can appear as a shadow person. They can appear as an animal.
Who's the duppy in this picture? Is it the dog or the guy?
Either one. They can appear as either one. And depending on what kind of person you are, that'll tell you how the duppy's going to act. If you're a bad person, the duppy is going to treat you negatively. It's going to be evil to you. If you're a good person, the duppy is going to help you.
Yeah, you have here that they're known to terrorize their widow, bankrupt their brother, burn their house of a former business partner that they believe that did them wrong. They're pretty unsavory creatures, and you also say how to protect yourself against them. And that's what I really like, because as I was reading this, my imagination ran pretty wild.
Well, sometimes the how to protect yourself from them gets really, really crazy out there. There's one specific type of vampire in South America that if you scatter a bunch of tiny seeds outside the door, it's going to be too busy trying to count them. And if you put in, chicken or bird claws, little bitty bird claws, it'll have to start recounting the seeds because they'll
I
find a
read
flaw
that.
and they'll get messed up.
And this one was also kind of bizarre. The Jumbie, something about is that the one where they want to try shoes on? So if you leave shoes at the front door, like like protects you because they'll be busy trying shoes on and stuff.
Yes. Yeah, and there are a
Crazy.
number of South American or Central American, and again with the Caribbean type of entities that it's weird. There's the Bigfoot, the Sisamite, which is a Bigfoot from down in that area, and there is a goblin down in that area that have backward facing feet.
Oh, so weird.
I wrote about that enough to where I think it's fairly common, and they have the backward facing feet mainly because you don't know which way they're going with their footprints. Yeah, there are also a lot of monsters from south of the border that make a whole, where do they come from? That make a whole lot of sense to me. Why they have monsters like that? Because if you are if you are damaging nature, if you are poisoning the water, there are creatures down there, be it the father, Papa Boys, who is the father of the forest, or sometimes it's a mermaid. If you destroy land or water or cruel to animals, there are entities down there that will take it out on you. A lot of protectors from nature.
Yeah, so, that kind of makes sense too.
That does make a lot of sense. And there's also a couple of different type of female entities from down in Mexico all the way through Central America that prey upon bad men. Okay, they'll appear as a beautiful woman, and if you're out drinking and gambling at night, walking by yourself, and home from gambling and drinking, they will kill you because you have not been kind to your family.
Yeah.
They will also attempt to seduce somebody. And if this man who is otherwise married or has a girlfriend falls to the seduction, one of the creatures during the kiss has a horse head, and will take the man up on a cliff and throw him over. There's another one that is it's the same setup, but when you're kissing this one, all of a sudden you realize you're kissing a skull, and it reaches her hand in through your chest and pulls out your heart. So,
yeah, we've seen those kind of things like in horror movies and stuff.
Right. Oh, entities like this are ripe for horror movies.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
They are. I was thinking that as I was reading the book, like, how fascinating would it be if like someone took your book and turned it into a movie?
Well, that would be fun. It was almost a TV show, Chasing
American Monsters. No kidding.
It got to the point to where we put together a sizzle reel, and the two producers were marketing around, the Sci-Fi and Discovery and all these. Didn't get picked up. I found out that's pretty common.
Oh, it's very common. My sister's in the movie business, and she's come up with so many scripts and told me similar stories where they either love it or want you to change something. But I can't imagine why they wouldn't want that, because people love monsters and cryptids and ghosts. And that's another, like the past year or two, I know that like any type of paranormal show is going crazy on TV. People love it. They love all those ghosty shows. And speaking of ghosties, have you ever encountered any like ghost yourself or had any type of paranormal experience in your life?
I have had a few with ghosts. There was a ghost of a little boy in my house when I was a kid, and I was the only one who could see it. And I saw him, and I only saw him once. I would hear him walking around every once in a while, but I only encountered him once. and it was during the day and bright sunlight, so I know I saw what I saw.
Yeah.
And outside of that, I did while I was researching my first paranormal book, Haunted Missouri. I went to all these haunted spots, and a couple of times things happened.
Yeah.
Cold spot enveloped me. There was a dormitory at the University of Central Missouri in Warrensburg, Missouri. It's the oldest dorm on campus, and the third floor has been locked and closed for years. And there's legends of a ghost up there. And one of the things the ghost does is turns a light on in this room. And they blame it on, electrical problems.
Yeah.
Well, the director of housing took me up there when I was writing my chapter on this ghost. And we went into this room. He showed me the room, and the light was on. And he was like visibly shocked because there was no way for anybody but him or the custodian to get up there. And there's no reason the custodian needed to get up there. But the light was on. So click, he switched it off. We went down to the end of the hall. And by the time we walked back, the light was back on.
Ooh,
we were the only people up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
would you consider ghosts to be cryptids, though? They wouldn't fall into that.
They wouldn't fall into that. It's a completely different animal. I wouldn't consider, extraterrestrials necessarily cryptids either, although I do have a couple of extraterrestrial encounters in my monster books because they were kind of monstrous.
Yeah. Yeah. So would you consider these other cryptids to be like these lesser known cryptids, like they're more obscure? Do they get in the area like the same type of notoriety?
Oh, it depends. Some don't that probably should. For example, Tommy knockers.
Yeah.
And
what exactly are Tommy knockers?
It started in Cornwall, England. Miners, coal miners in Cornwall, England, started talking about these diminutive people that were dressed like miners, and they would do mischievous things like steal their lunch or misplace tools, only to return it later. If the miners were kind to them, if they left out beer and cookies or something, they would be directed toward a new vein of coal. If the miners, ignored them, pretended they didn't exist, they might cause a cave-in.
Oh,
right. And I'm not exactly sure how they came to this conclusion, but in the Cornwall miners felt that they were the Jewish, the people who turned Christ into the Romans. Like, where do you get that? I mean, okay, kind of interesting, but whatever. The thing is, Tommy knockers, once miners were brought over from Cornwall, England, to mine for coal in Pennsylvania, and then they went out west to mine for gold during the gold rush in the 1800s. They reported Tommy knocker activity, just like they did back in England. And here's something that I find absolutely fascinating. Before, English people went to South America in researching my, the book that's coming out next year, Chasing the World's Monsters, hopefully volume 1. In the Andes, when they were mining gold and silver, way back in the day, they reported the same creatures. Diminutive creatures that dressed just like they did as miners, and they did the same things. They would steal food. They would either help you by taking you, to the mother lode, or they might, cause a cave-in if you were being a jerk to them. And I think I read that still in some places, food and alcohol are left out for them. So 2 different places across the planet.
Yeah.
The exact stories came up. How does this happen?
That's nuts. Now, Tommy knockers, are they ghosts or are they cryptids?
They're cryptids. Now, here's something that so many things fascinated me doing my research. And one of them had to do with Fae folk.
Okay.
Fae folk are all over the planet.
Yes, they are.
Yes, literally every civilization has them, every culture, and they're so similar. When you talk about gnomes, tomties,
Yeah.
goblins, trolls, sprites,
Yeah.
elves, brownies, all of the leprechauns, Tommyknockers, they're
Yeah.
all so similar.
Yeah.
They're the same type of height. They're either good or bad. Not necessarily good or bad. They're ambivalent. They're in the middle. Just don't make them mad, or they'll take it out on you. Be nice to them, and they'll reward you. In a lot of cultures, they do the changeling. They'll replace a human baby with their sickly one and steal the human baby.
Oh, my word.
And also across the world, and North America has these too. Of these creatures out in the woods, they will lead the big people, out in the woods, either with like a will-o'-the-wisp, or they will be calling for us to follow them. They're supposedly between 2 and 3 feet tall. They're dressed like the local people. They have large noses. They can disappear if they want to. They can set things on fire if they want to. They use arrows that are either magic or poisonous.
Yeah.
And if you upset them, they will trick you to walk off a cliff.
Yeah. It's funny because my grandmother was from Ireland, and I grew up hearing stories about banshees and the Cochabawa and all sorts of Irish folklore. Are these things cryptids, or are they more classified as folklore ghosty?
Well, it's a gray area there. I counted in my first book on cryptids, Chasing American Monsters. I counted it as a cryptid because there is the Banshee of the Badlands up in South Dakota. I'm like, banshees, yes, they came from Ireland. Well, Irish people came to that area as well, way back in the day. So their legends came with them.
Right.
And this all has to do, you mentioned tulpas earlier, right? And, if you believe something, you can form these things. When the Africans were brought to South and Central America and to the Caribbean, their legends came with them, and people believed them there. Sure. And you've got the Goa people from I believe it's South Carolina, who were freed African slaves after the Emancipation Proclamation, and they came from various places in Africa, and they put their legends together, and they still have the buhag as part of their belief system, which is a type of vampire. And then again, the Banshee, the Tommyknockers. I am not exactly sure where I'm falling on this. We didn't actually physically bring our creatures with us, but by bringing the idea of our creatures and believing in them, they're here.
Exactly. And that's why I brought up tulpas, because I think it's the what's that cryptid, the tall man, I think he's called, and it started Slender Man.
Slender Man, yes.
That started on the internet. And then it came to life. I think that's a real good example of a tulpa.
I agree, and I do use that exact one because I've actually talked to a couple of people who swear that they've seen that entity.
Oh no!
And it's the same with black-eyed kids.
Yes, that's another big one.
Right. That I interviewed Brian Bethel, the man who had the first encounter in 1998, I think it was, and he posted it on a message board somewhere, and then it just exploded. And then I talked to people literally all over the world, from Australia to Europe and Africa, Saudi Arabia, and of course, North America, who've encountered them. All right, so did this?
Oh, they've seen black-eyed kids.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So did this come from somewhere? It had to have come from somewhere. Brian still seemed scared. He didn't. I don't think he made it up. But since it got so much attention, so many people were thinking on it, they started appearing. And this is something I'm one of the first people who started writing a lot about black-eyed kids, and I was going to write a book on it. And my wife said, Jason, all the stuff you write about, I'm okay with. These things scare me. So if you write this book, if you write this book and it gets attention gets their attention and they come knock on our door, it's your butt. So I picked my battles and didn't write it.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Let's talk about them for a minute. So you think they were tulpas created by us? Where was the origin of them? Like what state or country did they originate in?
That's a great question. I don't really know because again, it was a worldwide phenomenon. And there were, however, movies out, vampire movies especially, to where they'd have the full eye contact lens and their eyes would be completely black. There were some alien movies way back in the day that had those too. So maybe it came from us. Maybe we saw something in Hollywood and we're like, that's freaky, and I had a dream about it. Or
the way they come, like I've seen a few videos of supposed black-eyed kids where, people recorded them like on their Ring doorbell or whatever. And they like ring your bell and they were all young in age, like kind of tweenish, in age. And they would want access to your home or get picked up.
I use the bathroom. May I get a drink of water? Would you please let me in to use the telephone? That sort of thing. In the case of Brian Bethel, he was at a down in his city in Texas. He was writing a check. This is back in the 90s. He was going to put it in his cable, the cable office to pay his bill. And it was 9:45 at night at this strip mall. And two kids approached him. They wanted permission to get in his car so he could take them home because they needed money for a movie. And they just seemed to want to be let in.
Has anybody let them in that you spoke to? Do you know anybody that has let them into their home or car?
No, I have not. But I did talk with someone once who speculated maybe the people who are healthy and die of natural causes, maybe they're the ones who let them in.
Let's see. Yeah, they're creepy. I could see why your wife would get freaked out by them. They're on the creepy edge.
I got contacted by a person who would only refer to himself as Draco. He contacted me via email, and he said black-eyed people have been around for millennia. He said, we are the descendants of the serpent from Genesis.
I was thinking that like lizard-like kind of creature, right? You kind of get that vibe.
A little bit,
they scare me a little bit. What about those other creatures that it's so embedded in movies and books of the woman in white walking along the highway? What's up with that? Oh. Is that a cryptid or a ghost?
It's a ghost, and
that's a ghost.
It's extremely common. I think the most famous is in Chicago. A woman in white is walking, down the street, and people pick her up, and she's like, "Would you take me home?" And they finally get to a spot, and she said, "You can let me out." And it's into a cemetery. There's a ghost at Stevens College in Columbia, Missouri. She's referred to as the woman in white. La Llorona is a woman in white. So the white's got to symbolize something.
Yeah, that kind of creeps me out too. I know there was an Amish tale of someone was driving like Uber, Lyft, whatever, and they picked up a person like that in white, and it turned out to like the guy turned around, she wasn't there anymore, and that went back to like some old Amish story that I heard. But so those are ghosties more than cryptids. Yes. What about mermaids? Because I still see videos. I just saw one the other day of someone It was after the earthquake that happened in Russia last week. And somebody was videoing the ocean, I guess, looking out for the tsunami. And there were like dozens of these creatures. I don't know if you saw the video.
I did not.
Oh, it's viral. You can go find it on YouTube somewhere. And there were heads popping out of water that looked like heads. It didn't look like a school of fish. It looked like mermaids, a bunch of mermaids. Now, these are cryptids, right? These.
Yes, definitely cryptids.
Yeah.
And, you know, they've got such a long history. They were, you know, in the ancient Greeks, they were, you know, they had the sirens, which were mermaids. Yep. But it's another worldwide phenomena that there are these, you know, half human, half fish creatures. There are some from. There's a Native American legend. I think it's from either Alabama or Arkansas of mermaids in this one specific river that were formed by the spirits of you know, tribes people who committed mass suicide in the river. There's a South American starts with an E and can't something. It's no, not South. Yes, it's the Amazon River. They have pink river dolphins in the Amazon River, and this in Canta maybe is a male river dolphin that turns into a human and goes into a town to find a mate. So, you know, there's stuff everywhere, but it's one of those things that I really can't put logical credence behind a half man, half fish.
And mermaids fascinate me because they get like they have like dual personalities. So you'll see some stories about them. Hear some stories where they'll sabotage sailors and, you know, sink ships and eat human flesh. And then some of them are like loving. I mean, Walt Disney uses them in their movies, and they're these loving creatures that want to be human-like and so on. They're magical. So it's so interesting. Do you think that comes from like the area where they're spotted?
It might have to do with whether Walt Disney got a hold of it or not.
Yeah.
Because, you know, mermaids are not, you know, from you know, legend, are not nice creatures.
Right.
They're the ones who sabotage the ships. They're the ones that eat the men, that fall overboard. It's the same with fairies, with fae folk. You know, there are so many Tinkerbell movies out there. Yeah. And I watched them with my daughters when they were little. But I've also studied a lot about Norse fairies and about Irish fairies and Scottish ones. These things are evil.
Yeah,
they're not Tinkerbell.
Yeah. Now, what's the shapeshifter? It's not Wendigos, is it? What's the shapeshifter in Native American where they don't even like to use the word to talk about them?
Skinwalker.
Skinwalker, like Skinwalker Ranch.
Right.
What's up with the Skinwalker?
It's a Navajo legend. It has to do with a shaman that is able to don the skin like a wolf pelt or a coyote pelt or you know, something made out of, you know, eagle feathers, and they can transform into that animal. But it is a dark magic. And when they do that, they're up to no good. So that's why they're rarely talked. They're rarely talked about, and they, you know, don't like to say their name.
No, they don't, even till today. Like, we have some guests that we interview that are Native American, and they don't even want to talk about them.
Right. Well, and the thing is, I talked with a this has been 2007 when I interviewed this man, but he was a member of the Cherokee Nation, and we talked about, you know, some different things when it comes to legends of various Native American tribes. And he said the thing with the Skinwalkers, and he didn't have a problem with it because it's a Navajo thing, but with shadow beings and anything like that, they're just people.
Yeah.
They're evil people with evil powers. He said you can run into one at Walmart and not know it.
Oh.
Just don't run into them in the dark.
Yeah, that scares me too. That scares me too. The whole skinwalker thing is pretty creepy and scary. What about aliens? You know, the grays, and let's take a leap into space for a minute.
Mhm.
Where do you stand on that? Are these things cryptids? Well, they obviously are, right? Like, or do you classify them differently?
Um, it's because they're not. They are monsters to us.
Yeah,
We're probably monsters to them. I'm not sure exactly how I would classify them. They're an unknown creature, so they might as well be,
exactly.
by
Yeah,
definition, they're cryptids.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's your stance on the whole UFO thing? Are you a believer, or, I mean, I would imagine you are, but
I I was about 14 or 15, and it was planting season, and my dad pulls in about 9 or 10 o'clock, and he doesn't come in the house. And mom was like, "Jason, go see what's wrong with your dad." So I went out and he was standing by the side of the truck, and I stood next to him, and he pointed at this farm field. We had a farm field about a mile away was another farmhouse,
mhm.
and he said, "You see that?" And I looked up in the sky. Beautiful sky out in the country with no light pollution. Man, you can see stars
Oh,
forever.
sure.
There was a black circle in the sky. It looked like a hole punch. God had hole punched the
Hmm.
sky, and we just stood there and stared at it, and we could hear a humming. And I went and got mom. She came out. She looked at it. Then we got a phone call. I went in and answered the phone because they didn't want to go in. They were watching the UFO, and
Hmm.
it was our neighbor from across the way asking if we could see the thing hovering over the
Oh,
field.
wow.
So I eventually went, after the phone call, I went back out, and it rose up and up and up and then
Hmm.
disappeared. So I was already interested before that. I'm a big fan of Star Trek, Lost in Space,
Yeah.
a bunch of movies. So I was always in that bent, but the older I got, the more I realized there has to be intelligent species out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
As Carl Sagan famously said, uh, in this vast universe, if we're the only intelligent life, what a waste of space.
Oh, yeah. It's so true too.
Right. And
So
with any scientist, you ask any physicist, and they're going to say, statistically, with all the planets around all the stars, we
yeah.
can't be alone. But
Yeah.
are they traveling here? One of the big things I hear, when I listen to scientists talk, is that the closest star is so far away from us that if there is intelligent life, it couldn't get there from here. It would take hundreds of years for that to happen. And the thing that annoys me is that, 150 years ago, we couldn't fly.
Exactly.
Okay. So we don't know what they can do.
Exactly. We don't know what technology they have, whether they're using portals, alternate dimensions. I mean, who knows? Who knows how they get here?
Yeah.
But I do think they get here. Do you think social media is hurting like the modern cryptozoology? Do you think that these platforms either delegitimize or legitimize like the whole field?
Cryptozoology and ufology and ghost and everything, the whole kit and caboodle,
Mhm.
I think is suffering because of social media.
Mhm.
We had
Yeah.
enough problems with legitimacy before social media,
Right.
but now and especially now with AI, it is so easy for people
Oh,
to fake ghost encounters or a Bigfoot encounter. Um, that they do, and it's like, okay, what's real? I don't trust videos or pictures anymore.
no, you can't.
Yeah, you can't.
No, and it's sad. And it's funny because AI is not quite perfected. Like, if you look at the hands, usually there's a lot of like extra fingers and things like
Yeah.
that. But in 3 months from now, you're not going to know the difference between a real conversation and an AI conversation. So
there's still that uncanny valley thing going on. It's not quite there, but I think everything is progressing so fast. A person in AI, I just read a news article the other day who he predicted that the singularity is going to come in 5 years, to where AI is going to be smarter than we are.
Oh yeah, I think it's even less than that based on what I've been reading. But I would imagine that it's hurting this field, even for folks like you that are so into it, writing books, because, you want to legitimize some of this folklore, and you're doing all this research, and yet these people are creating fake Bigfoot or whatever videos. And like, where does that, how does that make you feel that?
Well, it makes me feel just like I see people using AI to write stories.
Yeah.
Like, come on, that's cheating. Do it the old-fashioned way. Use your brain.
What does a publisher do? I mean, there's websites where you can check for AI written content, but they must get lots of that, no?
Yes, and the last contract that I got had a section in there about signing this contract says you're promising that you did not use AI to write the book. So they're trying to safeguard themselves as much as they can.
Absolutely. I mean, you could do research with it, right? But you just can't use the actual writing.
Well, I mean, you kind of have to if you're using a search engine. That's what they're all using.
Sure, of course. Yeah. Now, when you were writing this book, did you interview people from each area, or was it more research that you kind of just
it was more doing the research. I did from my first book, Chasing American Monsters. I did get out there and talk to some people. I interviewed some people personally, but when it comes to the whole United States and chasing North American monsters, I mean, I'm going from Greenland to Panama. It's really kind of tough, and expensive to get out there and chase people down who've encountered things.
Yeah. Do people email you with stories still of cryptids and ghosts or any of the above that they see and like want to report to you?
Occasionally, not as much as they used to. I used to write a newspaper column. 4.5 years, I wrote a newspaper column called From the Shadows, and every week I had a new paranormal story that I would give them. And over those 4.5 years, I probably had 1,000 people email me their stories. But not too often anymore, which is okay because I can do it enough on my own.
Oh, sure. What's your favorite cryptid? Like what one that you find yourself drawn to?
Okay, I'm gonna give you two answers. Bigfoot and Fey folk. Because of the fact that, I mentioned Fey folk being seen everywhere.
Yes.
Bigfoot, every continent.
Yeah.
Except for Antarctica. And the thing is, the Bigfoot and the Fey folk legends people had before our cultures were connected.
Yes.
So to me, there's got to be something with both of them. There has to be. They have to be real, because how else could these people all over the planet who couldn't talk to each other come up with the same stories?
So you mean fairies and gnomes and those types of creatures, right?
Yes. And I'm not necessarily saying it's fairies and gnomes, but let's look at Indonesia, Flores Island especially. Was it 10, 15 years ago? Small skeletons were found. The people on the island had stories of what they called Ibu Gogo, which meant grandmother who eats anything. And they were 2.5, 3 foot tall humanoids that would come into the village and steal children to eat.
Oh, goodness.
All right. And that was, of course, Western science comes in and says, oh, that's a cute fairy story. Until they found this cave that was filled with the remains of these 2.5 to 3 foot tall humanoids.
Wow.
They named it Homo florensis. They gave it its own human branch. It's recognized by science now. They nicknamed it the Hobbit. Hobbits. But here is an example of faith folk legend that's actually true.
Yeah. So hobbits are
what
real.
They do. I talked about changelings earlier, which is fairies taking their sickly young and leaving it in the house and stealing the healthy human young. Well, that's similar to what the Ibu Gogo did.
That's crazy. What about unicorns? I mean, isn't there historical proof that they did exist? Are they cryptids, or how do you view them?
Well, I'm going to mention, this will be the third time I've mentioned religion. I'm not necessarily a religious person, but this is just where every time I mention it that's where it went. Unicorns were mentioned 9 times in the Bible, the Christian Bible. Unicorns. Now, what was it? Probably rhinos. Most probably rhinos.
Oh, you think?
When Alexander the Great and Marco Polo also wrote about encountering unicorns, and historians probably, they believe these were probably the Asiatic rhinos, which sure they very possibly could have been, but I'm not saying there weren't. I seriously doubt unicorns were ever real, but if they were, they weren't the unicorns again that we see in Disney.
Yeah. I saw a video of a purported, it might be this one here. Wait, let me see if I could share this. It was crazy. Wait, I have to stop sharing this. And this video kind of blew me away. Image file. No. Wait. Oh, there we go. Okay, here it is. Now, unfortunately, we're going to have to listen to this ad, but
while we're listening to the ad,
there it is. There it is. No, wait. Maybe this is the one.
Looks like mountain goats.
Yeah, that's not the one. That's not. There was one that I saw that blew me. Wait, maybe it was this one.
A unicorn was caught.
No, I saw one, a video that just blew me away. It was shot like maybe 10, 15 years ago. And I think it was in England. And this guy's just taking a video of the land. And all of a sudden, this creature comes in and it's got this distinct horn. And it just wandered back into the woods. I don't know if you ever saw that. No, that's the only video I ever saw that, and it was proven to not be fake.
Okay, I will have to look that up because I have not seen it.
If I find it, I'll email it to you.
Please do.
Every now and then I'll trip across it, but I know they did research and said it was not like a fake. It was too long ago to be able to fake something like that. And sometimes you find those kind of videos. Like, I also see creepy videos of this cryptid that's got, it's all like gray or white or whatever, because it's always at night, and it's got really long arms and legs, and it crawls, on all fours.
And it's humanoid.
Yeah, what is that thing?
Is that the rake?
Is it the rake? Yes, it's the rake.
It's the rake.
Those things, talk about scary.
Yeah. It looks like a very spindly golem from Lord of the Rings.
Yes, it does. Mm-hmm. And very nefarious looking.
Absolutely.
Did you do any research on them?
Well, I did. There was a report of one, and the person who shot a video of it called it Gollum, but it was a video of it stalking a moose in Canada.
Ooh.
And if you know how big a moose is, and they're angry, they're a very angry creature. creatures bigger than cars. And if you're confident enough to stalk one, I don't want to have anything to do with it.
Exactly. Like, I think that there's some legitimacy to those because I've seen so many videos, again, old ones, that like there's no way they were faked. And those things scare the bejeebus out of me. What's that other cryptid that came to be, I'd say, within the past decade? And it's this tall, there were two of them walking across a field, and they look like stick figures, very tall, and their arms were very rigid, and they would like swing back and forth. You know what I'm talking about?
I do, but I don't know what they're called.
Yeah, those are creepy too.
Yes.
This is what I'm saying. There's so many, Jason, cryptids. And that's why when I read your book, I was like amazed at the ones that I never heard of, that aren't popularized.
And that's it. The ones that, like Krampus. 20 years ago, most Americans didn't know what it was, but it got popularized and they made movies out of it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Do you think that it existed, that Krampus thing?
Probably not. I mean, a lot of these are stories to keep your children in line.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. But yeah, and I agree with you about the Fae folk and Bigfoot. They seem to be the two of the most like legitimized cryptids out there. And I grew up with stories about, Fae folk too. So, my grandmother swore that she saw these things. So who knows? Yeah. So what are you working on now? What's this new book that you're working on?
Well, actually, I'm finished with it. It's Chasing the World's Monsters.
Oh, you finished it.
I finished it. It comes out in 2026. And as it says, I cover the world, and I've got enough. I've also, since then, I've collected enough monsters that I can fill a second volume. So I'm hoping I can do that.
Now, how did you do research for that? What was your research like?
Well, there are people exploring cryptids all over the planet. So I contacted some of those. I did look a lot into folklore. And again, like I said earlier, a lot of news reports and not new news reports, like the Hibagon from Japan, Japanese Bigfoot, and I found news reports from 40 years ago when people encountered it, 50 years ago when people encountered it, and I dug into that. There was another. Gosh, I'm having trouble. But another Japanese monster that was a cryptid at one point, and it's now a mascot. It's now a Pokemon. So.
Right. So how did you pick? Like, did you just do country, like the most dominant ones in a particular country, or did you pick regions?
I was going to do country by country.
Yeah.
But then I realized the book would be 4,000 pages long.
Yeah.
So I went continent to continent.
Okay.
And yes, there are cryptids in Antarctica.
No kidding. Oh, isn't there one in this book too that comes out of the ice? I think I saw a picture of that.
That's in Greenland.
Yes.
Yes.
You spoke about Greenland and how it got named and everything. So interesting. So there are ice cryptids that people have spotted.
Definitely are. Wow. The one God, there's so many strange names, but the one that crawls across the ice is a person who was bad and got drummed out of a village and was froze to death out in the out on the tundra, would come back as a monster that had no legs because it had walked them off, and it would crawl itself across the ground, leaving a blood streak.
Oh, my word.
It preyed for people, it preyed on people who were lost out in the wilderness.
Yeah, yeah. Was that one called Elbows or something?
Something like that. Yes.
Yeah, I remember reading that in your
Yeah.
book. So you have this new book coming out in next year, which will be here before you know it.
Yeah.
What do you have planned after that? Like, do you want to just keep doing volume after volume of
Well,
these things?
I love doing it, so I hope to. But I also, like I said earlier, I also write fiction. I'm about 14,000 words into a horror novel right now.
Oh, nice. Nice. So what horror, how, like ghost or blood and gore?
No, more blood. I'm more blood and gore than ghost.
Oh, are you?
Yeah. Now, I wrote a 2-volume horror. First book was called The Girl in the Corn, and the follow-up
I
is
saw that.
The Boy from Two Worlds. I based that on Fae folk because of what I
Oh,
told you of watching Tinkerbell movies with my daughter and knowing like Norse mythology. Those cryptids, those Fae folk were evil.
oh,
So
wow.
the villain in my books is a Norse Fae. So I
Yeah.
incorporated cryptids into my fiction too.
Yeah, that's great. And I could see where it would be like a never-ending resource, a pool of information for you to pull from, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, right?
Right? It is. And
Yeah.
I read, you're not supposed to read book reviews, but I do occasionally. And a man wrote on my first cryptid book, Chasing American Monsters. In his review, he wrote, I love this book. I keep finding new monsters that I can use in my Dungeons and Dragons campaign.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I could see where that would be very useful, right?
Yeah, as an old D&D player from back in the day, that made me happy.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. And like I said, your sense of humor is refreshing in reading that. So I highly recommend folks check out your book. Do you want to see any of these become movies? I mean, I know we talked about one that didn't come to be, but what about some of your fiction? Are you working on any of that?
I would love for any of it to become a movie. Hollywood hasn't come knocking on my door yet, though.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's cross those fingers.
Yeah. And of course, folks can get your books on Amazon or on your website, which we have scrolling across the screen, jasonoffutt.com. So anything you want to say in closing about your creatures and cryptids or what you're working on? Anything you'd like to say in closing?
Well, with anything to do with not just cryptids but the paranormal, I want to encourage people to have an open mind because there are a lot of people who just shut down immediately. And I taught a class at my university a number of years ago called paranormal journalism, and they had to write a paranormal story, interview people, research a topic, and write a news story every week. And a couple of the students were, they said, I don't believe in any of this stuff. I can't find any stories. They all found stories.
Sure.
They're all out there. Everybody you know has encountered something weird.
Yes.
So just ask around.
Yeah. And I love that piece of advice. Keep an open mind because it's embedded in our culture. Not only cryptids, but all of this folklore. I mean, we come from people that sat around fire telling stories to one another. So, it's a part of who we are as people. So I loved your book, Jason. It was so much fun to read. And it was
really appreciate that.
Of course. And it was such a pleasure getting to know you and speaking with you and picking your brain about all these different cryptids. I mean, I definitely want to have you back on, especially when your next book gets released, because, we could have another 2-hour conversation about cryptids worldwide.
And I would be more than happy to have that conversation with you.
I will be in touch. Well, you have to let me know the date for sure. I mean, and it'll be here before you know it, because lately talking about paranormal, but it feels like time has sped up because I look back and I can't believe like the months just fly by. So your release date will be here before you know it.
I know it will, and I'll leave you with this since you bring that up. Is I read a psychological article. It was about a study, but I didn't read the study. But the article, what the scientists determined is that when we get older, our time seems to pass more quickly.
Yes.
Because when we're younger, every experience we have is new. When we get older, all of our experiences are over and over and over again, and we just don't register them. They seem to fly by.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's a great observation and so true. It takes a lot for, as you age to have epiphanies and have all these new experiences, but that makes so much sense. And I really like that. But I do like folks to keep an open mind, especially when it comes to the field of high strangeness, and keep your eyes open and your ears open, because you never know. You might see a cryptid one day.
You can't plan for it. It's always an accident.
That's right. Well, Jason, thank you again so very much. I will be in touch. We will talk again soon, dear.
Okay,
thank you.
Terrific. Thank you very much. I had a great time.
You too, hon. Thanks. Bye-bye. So that was a lot of fun. I thoroughly appreciated Jason today. I love having guests like him on. The conversation just flows. He's so packed with knowledge, and his book was fantastic. And I'm not just saying that because I interviewed him. It truly was a page turner. I had a ball reading it. And sometimes it's so nice to read something that just like escapism. That's how I look at it. So I really thank him again so much. And as we close today, it's clear that the world of cryptids is more than just spooky stories. It's about history. It's about folklore. And it's about the enduring human need to believe in something beyond what we could see. Now, I know a lot of folks may be a little skeptical about these things, but just the hope that they exist. And not all of them are evil and bad and want to kill us. I think there's a lot of goodness in a lot of these cryptid tales as well. So we hope this conversation encourages you to take a little closer look at legends in your own hometown. Definitely do that. And a big, huge thanks again to Jason Offutt. And of course, check out his website. I will have all the links to where you can find him there. And of course, we had one rolling across the screen. And keep chasing those monsters. Don't forget to do that. And thank you all for tuning in. You've been listening to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled live on, not live, today's our Friday show. So that's a pre-recording. But of course on United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, which is 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. And if you are a radio listener, which there are millions of you, please do head over to a social media channel. Find us on there. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe. Do whatever it is you can to support us. I would greatly appreciate that, because this is a passion project for me. So all of your support means the world to me. And of course, support all of our other hosts that are on the show every week. You'll be introduced to different guests from various television shows, film, radio, authors with best-selling books and beyond. And thank you again so much. God bless each and every one of you. Have a safe and blessed day. Take care.